Soldiers are brave people. In other words, it would not be wrong for us to make such a generalization. Every soldier should be prepared for difficult conditions. No one knows when the war will start and how long it would last. Moreover, soldiers may face many different situations in this war, which does not know when it's end. Therefore, soldiers only have one thing to do, to trust their commanders and to carry out their orders. But an interesting thing is happening in the Russian army these days. Russian soldiers do not trust their commanders and do not follow their orders. As you may remember from our map reports, the Ukrainian army has achieved significant successes on the Bakhmut front line. This situation disturbs the Russian troops, because while the Ukrainian army achieved these successes, many Russian detachments have almost disappeared. Stationed along the entire front line, Russian soldiers are talking about the latest situation in Bakhmut and are afraid. The headquarters of the Russian General Staff decided to deploy new troops south of Bakhmut. So are Russian troops fulfilling this decision? Let's take a look at the developments together. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss the Pioneers daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support us by using the Super Thanks button located at the bottom of the video. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. As you know, the Russian army faces different problems every day. One of the biggest reasons for this is the struggle of the Russian commanders to raise their positions. Many Russian commanders send Russian soldiers to death on the front line to order take higher positions. As you will remember, there was a similar incident in the past days. A Russian soldier had a nervous breakdown in the face of his commander's behavior and then killed his commander with a machine gun. Here, the Russian soldier also lost his life. The Bakhmut front line is the place where the Russian army has lost the most soldiers since the beginning of the war. In fact, the Russian army could not fight these losses any longer. Therefore, the militia of the Wagner group fought on the Bakhmut front line. Russia had captured Bakhmut, but not thanks to the personnel of the Russian armed forces. However, the Wagner militia withdrew after the losses they suffered in the region, and the control of the region passed to the Russian armed forces. After the Russian armed forces took control of the area, the Ukrainian army launched a counterattack. Here, Ukrainian troops are implementing a siege strategy. South of Bakhmut city center, the main line of this encirclement was formed with Klishchivka and Andriivka, and then came under the control of the Ukrainian army. During the battles there, Russian troops suffered a considerable number of casualties. We often comment on this situation in the center of Bakhmut. The pressure exerted by Ukrainian troops both on the Bakhmut city center and on the roads supplying Bakhmut city center has worn out the Russian troops in the region. Now the Russian army wants to recapture Klishchivka and Andriivka, located south of Bakhmut city center. Therefore, the 1442nd Regiment was dispatched to this region. This regiment was ordered to attack Klishchivka and Andriivka. The regiment was to attack these two areas from the southeast. However, something unexpected happened to the Russian commander. The 1442nd Regiment abandoned its equipment and refused to attack the Ukrainian positions. Information about the refusal of the 1442nd Regiment to attack was shared through Russian channels on Telegram. Allegedly, the 1442nd Regiment had advanced to a point very close to Klishchivka and Andriivka. However, at this point, they encountered the Russian soldiers fleeing from the region. These Russian soldiers informed that 1442nd Regiment about the situation in the area. According to the information given by the fleeing Russian soldiers, the attack of the Ukrainian army has quite furious. In particular, Ukrainian artillery destroyed the ability of Russian soldiers to maneuver. Many Russian soldiers lost their lives, while the remaining Russian soldiers were wandering in the open field, unaware of each other. Allegedly, the soldiers of the 1442nd Regiment were reluctant to go to the region from the very beginning. Even before they were dispatched to the area, they had learned about the strong offensive of the Ukrainian army and the disintegration of the Russian troops. Consequently, the morale of the men of the 1442nd Regiment was very low. Belief, one of the most important elements of the fighting in the war, was absent in the soldiers of the 1442nd Regiment. Russian war bloggers also made statements about these events. Russian war bloggers were very angry with the Russian leadership because there was no way for Russian troops to quickly capture Klishchiivka and Andreevka after this huge defeat and losses. However, Russian commanders considered this battle here important for their own future. Therefore, Russian commanders acted irresponsibly to win a victory without analyzing the field and without knowing the conditions of their troops. According to Russian war bloggers, this was hysteria. These war bloggers say the following about the Russian war leadership. The situation is becoming more and more difficult every day due to the hysterical reactionary actions of our commanders in this region. The command urgently needs to take new measures, otherwise we will lose both the sons of the Russian armed forces and Bakhmut. In addition to their actual advances in the field, the enemy has well resolved the situation with Andreevka and the media space. As a result, we are making hysterical attempts to recapture the ruins of Andreevka. Similarly, hysterical attempts of counterattacks are taking place in the surrounding area. There was a great shock in the Russian army with this unexpected event. Many times before, we have witnessed soldiers deserting from the Russian army or refusing to fight. But these were usually individual actions. Moreover, Russian soldiers had previously refused to fight not because they were afraid of the Ukrainian army, but just because of the decisions of the Russian commanders. But this time, the situation is different. According to military parameters, there are between 1,300 and 3,000 soldiers in the regiment. In other words, we can say that the 1442nd Regiment of the Russian army consists of about 2,500 soldiers. 2,500 soldiers suddenly laying down their arms is really quite frightening news for an army. Russian official sources did not make any statements about the incident in question. However, according to many local sources, the decisions of the 1442nd Regiment to lay down arms was met with a great shock along the entire front line. According to military experts, this event could be a turning point. As we know, the Ukrainian army's counteroffensive continues. Ukrainian forces, mainly Bakhmut, are taking Russian positions in the Zaporizhia and Donetsk front line. It is quite possible that the other units, such as the 1442nd Regiment, will lay down their arms. We can see the repercussions of the situation more clearly in the coming days. What do you think? What effect do you think disarmament of the 1442nd Regiment will have on the Russian army? Do you think more Russian soldiers will lay down their arms? How will this event affect the war? Tell me in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.